It's time to move to the Southwest in Houston, Texas. The city was founded in 1836, but it truly grew up in 1901 when oil was discovered underneath the area's swampy ground. Houston was transformed by the influx of wealthy oil men, big-time Texas legends whose fortunes rose and fell with the luck of digging for oil. Now in the 21st century, Houston is a high school football mecca, and the only luck that city needs is showcased every Friday night at Stratford High School. Andrew Luck features a big-time arm, and one of the most ironic names in sports. There is no luck involved with this big-time quarterback prospect. Instead, is one part God-given ability and one part Ivy League brain.
Not only is he a phenomenal football player, but he's an even better kid off the field. He's ranked #1 in his class, an outstanding citizen in the community, and he just does everything right. He's a great leader. He's the first one here and the last one to leave, and you just can't find anything negative to say about him.
On the surface, it's the All-American story, the tale of the perfect quarterback prospect growing up in the football hotbed of Texas. But Andrew Luck's story began more than 5,000 miles away from the Lone Star State. He grew up in, of all places, Frankfurt, Germany. That's where his father, Oliver Luck, was one of the top executives for NFL Europe.
When we lived overseas, Oliver was involved with the NFL Europe, and Andrew, as a young, even at 2 years old, was going to football games and loved it. It didn't matter which team made a touchdown, he thought it was great, so he'd be cheering the whole time when the fans were cheering. And so he grew up with NFL Europe.
But while his dad helped to run a football league, it was soccer where Andrew first excelled. Before he entered the 4th grade, the Luck family moved back to the States, and the first thing they did was get their oldest son involved in football.
Growing up overseas, I really didn't have a chance to grow up in, the traditional football environment, but we still got to watch football, NFL Europe, so I'd always had an interest in it. But I guess when I moved back to the States in the 4th grade for me, I just felt right to play football, and I just felt it drawing me to the football field.
When he first came back to the U.S., he jumped right into a soccer program and played very well. And as often happens, I think, in his case it was a little bit special because he had just come back to the U.S., but he wanted to play the American sports that he had not played and really couldn't play over in Europe. And I said, fine, as long as you're doing something.
In Houston, young Andrew had one of the best football mentors a child could ask for. Before he started his career as an executive, Oliver Luck played quarterback for 5 seasons for the Houston Oilers.
We have great coaches here at Stratford. In middle school, we had great coaches, and my dad's a great dad for me. So I try and take advice from everybody. I realize everybody has good advice to say. You try and take a little bit from everybody to make yourself who you are. But my dad's been very helpful with everything. He always has great advice, and he keeps his mouth shut when I guess he feels that he needs to, and it's probably a good thing sometimes. And he talks to me when I need to be talked to, so it's a great relationship.
I've tried to be fairly straightforward and candid with him in the sense that telling him, listen, if you play quarterback, you get more of the blame when things don't go well, probably more of the credit when things do go well than is deserved. I also tried to tell him some of the upsides of playing quarterback. That in a perfect world, you're not getting beat up as much as if you're playing linebacker.
While Andrew turned away from soccer when the family moved to Texas, his father went back to it. Oliver Luck doesn't have a football career anymore. Now he's the president of the Houston Dynamo of Major League Soccer.
It's an absolute blast to be in charge of a sports franchise that is not quite at the level of the Texans or the Astros or the Rockets or big 3 sports teams, but is quickly getting to that point. We just had a game yesterday evening, over 20,000 folks in the stadium.
At Stratford High, Andrew has developed into one of the top quarterback prospects in the country. As a junior, he threw for nearly 3,000 yards and 27 touchdowns. As impressive as those stats are, his numbers in the classroom also jump off the page. Luck has a perfect grade point average and is #1 in his class. Balancing football and schoolwork is the rocket arm quarterback's #1 challenge.
I've been brought up, in an environment in which school is very important, and education, opens so many doors to the world. So, my parents have really stressed, doing your best in the classroom. So I just try and take those words to heart and work as hard as I can.
We used to have a hard history class, and Andrew would have 4 or 5 football guys over there, and he'd break out the textbook, and we'd have a study guide, and we would just sit there and do it. And once you had the study guide, we'd go home and study it, and we'd all make good grades on it. I mean, an excellent friend, excellent study guy.
But it's not all football and studying in Andrew Luck's life. On this night, he's hanging out with the area's top football players at the TD Club of Houston's awards dinner. And off the field, his teammates say that he's a laid-back, fun-loving guy.
One of the great things about Andrew is he's very light-hearted. He's always laughing. He doesn't take himself too seriously at all. You'll never hear him talk about himself.
He may look serious, but you'll never find a goofier kid in your life. I mean, if you ever hear him laugh or smile, I mean, he's just so goofy off the field.
With his laid-back attitude, his cannon arm, and his commitment to academics, one college was a natural fit for Luck. Next year, he'll head west to California to play for Stanford and head coach Jim Harbaugh.
I'm very excited to, learn the West Coast style and being under Coach Harbaugh, because he's been a great, quarterback tutor and coach for, a couple years, and a great quarterback in his own time. So, I'm just excited to have the opportunity to work with such an accomplished, quarterbacker, if you can say that.
The campus itself is just beautiful, and it was really neat to see Andrew interacting with the coaches at Stanford at the camp that we went to. I could tell that he and Harbaugh really hit it off, and Harbaugh reminded me a little bit of Oliver and the enthusiasm and just the way he approaches life, and just the laid-back lifestyle of Stanford, I think, appealed to Andrew.
Stanford is in the midst of rebuilding its football program, so it won't take long for the Cardinal coaches to realize how lucky they are to have a quarterback named Luck.